Again, good evening. It's always great to meet you again on Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Yafi, and coming up in today's edition, failure by 9 oil companies to pay their surface rentals last year alone result in 61% drop in expected revenue to the state. Some managers of commercial banks allay fears uncertainty of upcoming election could result in major investors holding on to their cash. And year-to-date rate of layoffs in the mining sector drops by 75% as only about 156 mining workers lose their jobs in the first half of this year. These and many others coming your way in the next half an hour or so. And keep watching. You can get interactive with us by tweeting your comments, your suggestions, and what have you on @JoyBusinessGH. That's the handle. And on Facebook, you can link on to Joy Business on our page. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. We'll be back after this.
Business Live today is brought to you by GCB Bank.
Thanks for staying. Now, 9 out of the 16 oil companies operating in the country failed to pay a total of $721,000 in surface rentals to government last year alone. That's according to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, 2015 annual report. The default means a 61% drop in expected revenue from the oil sector. Love Business Prince Appiah reports some think tanks are therefore demanding clear-cut measures for payments of the debt with the applicable penalties.
About 30 oil companies have been registered, but only half this number is on site. The 16 licensed upstream companies paid nearly $500,000 compared to about $908,000 in 2014, representing 49% drop. Head of policy at Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Dr. Ishmael Aka, predicts increased government borrowing due to shortfall in the oil sector revenue.
With the current structure where we do negotiation, companies come, at times they don't even have capacity. We've issued more than 30 licenses. About 50% of them are not on site. They are now going to raise funds to come and look for the oil. Meanwhile, we've given them provisional lines. So this is a very bad thing. And I think that the only way forward is to have a competitive bidding process to attract very big companies into the sector. With regards to revenue, it is going to affect government revenue because at the beginning of every year, government comes out with a budget. And when you're looking at the budget, the projections of the revenue, government considers this surface rental, corporate taxes and other things as part of revenue government is expecting to receive. So if a company doesn't pay, and now we are talking about 9 companies, then what it means is that we're going to have a revenue shortfall that may force the government to borrow, which shouldn't have been the case if we were dealing with credible companies.
Oranto Stone Energy, for instance, has not honored surface rentals of about $68,000 outstanding since February 21, 2013. According to Ghana Revenue Authority, owners of the company cannot be traced. It is therefore likely the invoice amount would have to be written off as bad debt. So the 2015 PIAC report recommended that the GRA must initiate the process to recover all outstanding surface rentals owed by the upstream companies to the government with applicable penalties. But the Center for Economic and Business Research, SEBA, insists such penalties are not severe enough to deter others from the practice. Executive Director Gordon Mueller-Vasamoa suggests licenses of defaulting companies must be revoked.
You see, I believe we need to have a unified condition so that condition for A will be the same condition for B. And if B cannot fulfill those conditions, then the license is revoked from B and given to someone who will be able to fulfill the conditions. So you have to look at the technical conditions, looking at the financial aspect and every other aspect of the contract that you give to these oil companies. It is difficult that you give contract to 16 companies, or only 5 of them are able to do everything. Then on what basis were you able to give those contracts? And why can't you revoke the license from those people that are not able to meet the conditions that have been given out? So going forward, we should have a unified contract or conditions for all of them and enforce them strictly so that people will not take us for granted. If you step out of line, you are sanctioned. And that way, everybody wants to be able to meet the standards so that they can remain in business.
For Joy Business, Prince Apia report.
Still within the petroleum industry, key concerns of many stakeholders of the oil and gas industry include the engagement of many Ghanaians, transfer of technology, and the participation of local SMEs in the sector. For now, it is believed that the employment opportunities for individuals and other businesses have become elusive in the entire petroleum value chain. However, Director Special Services of the Petroleum Commission, Kweku Boateng, tells Joy Business the new E&P bill makes it obligatory for companies to prepare and implement training programs for Ghanaian citizens in all aspects of petroleum activities to be able to occupy positions in the industry in future. Now, Mr. Boateng spoke in an interview on the Marketplace.
One key objective of that regulations is to maximize employment of Ghanaians in the oil and gas industry. And the Petroleum Commission, as implementer of the regulations, ensure that for every position that an expert is allowed to occupy, they must demonstrate that there's no qualified Ghanaian available to occupy that position. And in situations whereby we allow expatriates to come in and occupy this position, the operators are required to submit a succession plan accompanied by a training plan as to when they are going to train Ghanaians to occupy those positions. So every single position being occupied by an expatriate, there's a training and succession plan which is approved by the Petroleum Commission as to when a qualified Ghanaian will be recruited and trained to occupy those positions. And that program is working very well. And I have to tell you, in most of the key operating companies, now Ghanaians occupy key technical and managerial positions in those industries.
And moving on, concerns that the upcoming elections could be having some negative impact on the economy might not be the case on the ground. Thus, if engagements with some banking chiefs, investors, the Bank of Ghana, as well as scrutinizing financial records of banks are anything to go by. George Rafi tells us more.
Some economists over the months have maintained that, due to the uncertainty in this election year, major investors are holding on to their cash. This development could be a reason that affected a recent local bond issue, as well as last week's Eurobond sale. Others also believe that the election overhang has impacted on deposits of commercial banks, as well as investments by offshore investors. There were even predictions the development will affect the ability of most banks to lend to business. But Joy Business's engagement with some officials at the Bank of Ghana shows, rather, local bonds issued by government have not been affected. Engagements with some bank treasurers also show that portfolio investors have not witnessed any significant decline. Managing Director of Standard Chartered Bank, Kweku Bedu Adjo, says deposits have not witnessed any reduction because of the upcoming elections.
If we compare the current environment, or if we compare the first half of 2016 to the first half of 2014 and 2015, I would say that somewhat the operating environment has improved. Are we out of the woods yet? No, there's still room for improvement. Interest rates are in the high 20s. Inflation, 18.4%, I believe. There's still the government is pursuing fiscal consolidation under the International Monetary Fund Enhanced Structural Adjustment Program. So when you put all those things into consideration, then we haven't quite returned to benign operating environment where you see interest rates drop to more affordable levels. You see economic growth go north of 5% again, and then you can be sure that we are getting back to benign economic conditions. So until we see those signs, I think our posture remains one of caution whilst we pursue restructuring and recovery.
A careful look at the half-year results of most listed banks also revealed deposit mobilization and even lending have not witnessed any significant reduction. Managing Director of HFC, Robert Lehunt, on his part says the upcoming election has not in any way affected their expansion plans and investments. Well, for some, it might be early days yet to conclude whether or not the uncertainty surrounding the election could indeed affect the economy, or could the current challenge have more to do with management of the economy rather than just the elections.
All right, so that report was put together by correspondent George Riafe. Now, there has been a 75% drop in the year-to-date rate of layoffs in the mining sector. Just about 156 mining workers lost their jobs in the first half of this year, compared to 648 in the same period last year. This was revealed by the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Prince William Ankra, in his address at the union's National Executive Council meeting in Kumasi. There's more in this Business Desk report.
The development is in sharp contrast with the over 10,000 direct jobs lost in the sector in the past 3 years, primarily due to the high cost and lack of reliable power supply for especially mining companies. The drastic decline in the rate of redundancy between January and June this year is largely attributed to the positive trend in the price of gold on the international markets. There has been a 22% increase in price of gold since January this year, and expected to hit $1,500 per ounce by the close of this year. This coming on the heels of a slump in the prices in the global mining industry in the last 3 continuous years. It resulted in a slowdown of the influx of foreign direct investments and generally rendering the mining sector unattractive to investors. According to the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Prince William Ankra, this confirms the linkage among job sustainability, industry sustainability, and commodity prices. He added that a lot more jobs can be created and also strengthen the ailing economy if the emerging trends in the commodity price outlook continue. On the issue of illegal mining, the union lauded government for amending the Minerals and Mining Act to deal with the menace, but want more to be done in the area of enforcement for the desired results. The union also expressed concern about the infrastructure deficit and worsening conditions of communities in which mining companies operate, and wants government to learn from the American, Australian, and South African examples in which mining revenues have been used to develop and turn around the economy. The union believes the issue could be significantly addressed if government implements the Mineral Development Fund bill before the close of this year. The bill was recently passed into law, under which the Mining Development Fund will be set up, with funds from royalty payments targeted at socio-economic developments of the mining communities.
That was a Business Desk report. Now, the challenge local industries are facing from inferior imported goods appears to be gradually spreading to more sectors. The phenomenon, which has over the years been cited for the dwindling fortunes of the local textile industry, is said to be eating into the construction sector as well. Local producers of construction materials, Caspon Group Limited, has been explaining this ahead of the Multi-TV Habitat Fair, which comes off this Friday at the Accra International Conference Centre.
Players in the sector say the influx of cheap products from China is posing unfair competition to their locally produced items. According to Caspon Group, this is unduly undermining the local companies that manufacture building materials and therefore want governments to intervene because of its far-reaching economic implications if not checked. The marketing manager, Irama Sewapoku, tells Joy Business Industry players also have a crucial role to play in addressing the issue.
Main difficulty now is that people bring inferior ones from China. Yeah, we import ours from Italy. They are the quality ones, but people bring theirs from China, and then they confuse our clients. Those who don't know much about the product, they get confused when they see those ones from China and then the ones from Italy. So when you give them the price, they think you are overpricing your goods, but when they get the Chinese ones, they think that one is better. So they go in for that one, and then later they realize that they've thrown their money away.
The marketing manager of Caspon Group Limited has been speaking to Joy Business as part of the build-up towards the 2016 Multi-TV Habitat Fair, which comes off this Friday at the Accra International Conference Centre. Caspon Group is participating in the fair, and she says the event is an avenue for companies to network and boost their brands.
We've gotten so many contracts, bigger contracts that we didn't get in the past, even though we had big contracts in the past, but we've gotten more these days. We did the vanity top at the new extension at the airport. All the vanity tops there were then done by us. And then we are doing the stairs at the crane construction project at Rage. Yeah, we are doing it. And then the new EcoBank building, the head office of EcoBank, the new one, we are also doing the vanity tops there.
The 2016 Multi-TV Habitat Fair comes off this Friday, August 12th at the Accra International Conference Centre till Sunday, August 14th. The event, which seeks to offer to consumers a one-stop shop of all housing solutions, is under the theme Affordable Housing for All.
Meanwhile, some players in the real estate industry are making a fresh case for government to review the flat 5% value-added tax imposed on housing units. The Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) imposed the levy on housing units sold on or after October 1, 2015. This means prospective homeowners have to pay more for accommodation, and especially those who purchased houses before the 1st of October and still servicing their mortgages have raised grave concerns against it. CEO of SETI Realty Monoseti says the move is only worsening their woes in such a challenging economic environment.
The real estate market is down at the moment, and now you're adding an extra 5% on sales, which makes it a bit more difficult. So it puts a lot of people, it makes a lot of people unhappy because everyone wants to own a home, and you want to find the best deal possible. And now you put this 5% with this hardship in the economy. Puts a lot of people at unease. You know, we're all feeling that pinch right now, and it's just not the right time to put a 5%. It affects business because I don't make sales. I mean, it makes it very hard for me to make a sale, because then when you tell them that you have to pay a 5%, then it kind of like changes the sale pitch, and it becomes very difficult.
You're welcome back to Business Live. Now, it should be possible for any customer of a bank to instantly transfer money from his or her account into another account in a different bank, that is, by December this year. The service, dubbed Instant Pay Service, is already running, but in only 9 out of the 30 banks. The Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems (GIPS) introduced the real-time payment service as part of an initiative towards the shift from the use of physical cash to electronic transactions in the economy. The Bank of Ghana has set December as the deadline for the full implementation, and banks are generally confident of meeting this deadline. Vincent Musa is the head of e-banking at Zenith Bank.
As the word suggests, is an instant transfer to other banks, a service that was introduced by GIPS in consultation and in partnership with all the other banks in the country. We have been able to use it to effectively transfer funds from one bank to the other on a real-time basis. So once you transfer, you get an instant effect. So if you were in there, you saw that they transfer money from one of the banks to Zenith Bank, and then it reflected immediately, almost like real-time. If you had an SMS banking or SMS notification, you would have gotten the notification before it even exhibited on the screen. But because I got my notification and I was comfortable, it was going to show. So that's what Instant Pay is about. That's so good. It's been very effective. It's been very smooth. Though we have not rolled it out to the general public, today marks the beginning of we rolling out to the general public, but we normally do it within a smaller group as a test case, and it's been very effective, it's been very smooth, it's been very excellent and seamless. Immediately. Once you have an internet banking account, you can immediately effectively transfer the funds. But the challenge is we need to make sure the recipient bank has that facility enabled. If the recipient bank has the facility enabled, then you indeed have the funds seated.
Interview of the day was brought to you by.
Brings us to another edition of Business Live, which is your most entertaining, your most informative business program on TV today. My name is Emmanuel Apwaji. If you make a date with me again tomorrow, and of course, the Joy Business Van will come your way with many interesting goodies tomorrow, Wednesday. Good evening, and keep watching.